Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Giselle, I review fragrances. If you're new here, welcome to my channel, and if you're a returning subscriber, as I always say, it means the world to me. Thank you so much for your support. Guys, today I have a different video. Today I'm not gonna review any fragrance. Today I'm gonna give you actual tips to help you safely blind buy fragrances. So if you're interested in learning more, stay tuned. So before getting started, I actually want to make a little disclaimer here. This video doesn't mean I am encouraging you to blind buy fragrances. In fact, this is something I do not recommend people to do. The thing is, if you're gonna blind buy, no matter what, either because you're in lockdown, I have viewers from all over the world, so I'm not just talking about people in the US, right? So if your country maybe is in lockdown, or if samples or decants are not something that you can find in your country. So I'm a huge believer in making educated decisions no matter what we do in life. So if you are going to make a blind buy, no matter what, at least I want you to have some knowledge that will help you optimize your resources. And this way, at least you won't feel disappointed, you won't feel that you waste your hard-earned money. And yeah, I think this might help you optimize your results. It's not 100% accurate, but at least this is what I do when I blind buy fragrances, and so far it works. So I want to share them with you. So that being said, and with no further ado, let's get started. So my first tip, guys, is very simple. Take everything you see here on YouTube and everything you read on the internet with a grain of salt. We are all different, we all have different tastes, we all have different noses, and you truly don't know how legit is a review. I have seen people using my own terminology, my own comparisons, and my own words to describe specific fragrances. So a person does that, and then they go and recommend a specific fragrance, and then you base your purchasing decision on that review. Is that a reliable source? So do your research first and take, as I said, everything with a grain of salt. So the second tip is you have to understand the notes pyramid. In fragrances, this is a pyramid. You have top notes. The top notes are the notes that you get in the opening. Usually they last up to 20 minutes, something around that. They fade really, really quick. Then the fragrance transitions into the middle notes. The middle notes can last up to 3-4 hours. It really depends on the fragrance, but 3-4 hours is the average. And then from the middle notes, the fragrance transitions into the base notes. And the base notes are those that will stay with you for the longest time. So you have to make sure that you truly like the base notes, not just the opening. Never purchase a fragrance based on the opening. But here's the deal. This is a personal opinion. If I don't like the opening, I'm not gonna wait until the dry down to see if I like the fragrance or not. If I don't like the opening, I'm not gonna buy the fragrance. It's a deal breaker to me. So to me, top notes are important. Now, if I do like the top notes, that doesn't mean I'm gonna go buy the fragrance right away. I will definitely give it a chance and see how it develops into the middle and the base notes. And if I don't like the base notes, I'm not gonna buy the fragrance. So you have to take the whole picture into account, right? But the base notes are also super duper important because, as I said, the base notes are the notes that will stay for the longest time on your skin. So you have to make sure you like them, right? Because if you have a beautiful opening, a nice transition into the middle notes, and then in the base notes you get a woody or even leathery type of scent, and you don't like leather in fragrances, for example, you won't enjoy that fragrance. So you have to make sure that you really like the base notes. And as I said, I gave you my example. To me, the top notes are always important, but the most important ones are the base notes because of what I just said. So my third tip for you guys today is to understand the difference between very confusing notes. For example, I hear all the time people talking about milky notes, lactonic notes, and creamy notes, right? As if they were interchangeable terms. Yeah, milk and lactonic is the same, but it's not the same as creamy notes, right? Sometimes there is some overlapping because milky notes tend to be creamy, but creamy notes not necessarily are lactonic, right? For example, you can get a creamy note from one flower or even from a combo of flowers. Some flowers like tuberose, gardenia, some indolic jasmines, the Tahitian gardenia, for example. Those are flowers that are very renowned for being very creamy. There you have creaminess, and it's not from a lactonic origin. The same with sandalwood. Sandalwood also provides creaminess to fragrances, especially if we are talking about the Mysore or the typical sandalwood from India. So that type of sandalwood, it's very, very creamy, right? So the fact that it's creamy doesn't mean it's lactonic, because it comes from a tree, it doesn't come from a milk origin. Of course, we are talking about synthetic notes, but the milky notes are lab created to resemble the smell of milk. So it is very, very important to understand those differences. If you like creamy fragrances, do you really like creamy or do you like lactonic? Or maybe you like both, right? As I said, if you like milky fragrances, 99% sure you like creamy fragrances. But the fact that you like creamy fragrances not necessarily means that you will like milky notes. Another example, amber and ambergris. People talk about them all the time as if they were the same thing, and they couldn't be more different. Amber is actually a synthetic note. It's a compound of different ingredients, actually, including stardax, vanilla, patchouli, labdanum, and many others, right? So the amber is what gives fragrances that typical sweetness, warmth, slightly spiced and resinous smell. Ambergris, on the other side, is from a natural origin, but nowadays it's also lab created because it's way cheaper as well. Not because of an ethical reason, because there's no harm in actually the ambergris is an excretion from the sperm whale, and it's an excretion, so it's nobody's hurting the whale or anything, but it is extremely expensive. So the perfume industry is creating ambergris in the lab, and it's also used as a fixative, as a stabilizer in fragrances. It also prolongs the staying power. But those are totally different things, amber and ambergris. So you have to learn the differences, right? Another example is sandalwood, right? There are different types of sandalwoods, but if we talk about the sandalwood from India, which is the most renowned sandalwood in the world, it's the most expensive in the world, it's the sweet, creamy type of sandalwood we all crave, right? Or at least all of us sandalwood lovers. But the thing is, the most expensive one comes from the Mysore city in India, and due to excessive harvesting, now it's been more regulated, and the perfume industry started to use Australian sandalwood. The thing is, Australian sandalwood is not the same as Indian sandalwood. It's not as sweet, it's drier, and it doesn't have that creamy and texture and smell, actually. So if you go to Fragrantica, for example, I like Fragrantica just as a guide, but honestly you have to go check the official website of each fragrance, and this is actually my next tip, but I can combine it here because it really makes sense. If you go to Fragrantica and if you read the notes of a specific fragrance, and you probably see sandalwood, it just says sandalwood as a generic term, right? But it will be a totally different scent if that sandalwood is of Australian origin or if it is from India, right? If you want a sandalwood-based fragrance, you have to do your research and find out, is it a natural sandalwood or is it synthetic? If it is synthetic, we are talking about two different things, right? Completely different things. Now, if it uses natural sandalwood, you have to find out, where does the sandalwood come from? And usually you will find that out in the official website of the fragrance. Another example is with the different woody notes. Sometimes you read woody notes, right? But what does it mean, woody notes? Is it sandalwood? Is it guaiac wood? Like, what do you mean? Is it cedar wood? Like cedar, for example, has the typical pencil shaving type of smell. It's sharp, it's very dry, but it's cozy at the same time, if it makes sense. It's very cozy. Cedar woods sometimes are mixed with musky fragrances. Cedar is amazing, but it's a totally different fragrance. The fact that they are all woods doesn't make them similar. Sandalwood, cedar, guaiac, just to name a few, are totally different type of scents. The guaiac wood, for example, comes from a tree called Palo Santo. It's a totally different scent as well. if you see that the fragrance you're looking for has woody notes in the composition, you should dig a little bit deeper and try to understand what woody notes does this fragrance have. Another wood that we have in fragrances, birch. Birchwood has nothing to do with sandalwood or with cedar. Birchwood actually, it's used to recreate the leather nuance. So again, another example of why you have to be very, very careful when you read woody scents or woody notes, because all woods are different. So if you go with a fragrance that has birch in the composition, birchwood, thinking that you will get something very woody or creamy like sandalwood, you won't. You will have a very pretty strong leather fragrance. So if you don't like leather fragrances, you know you have to avoid birchwood in the composition. So my next tip for you is that you have to know that certain notes combinations might be a hit or miss. For example, milky notes, know that I'm saying milky notes, not creamy notes. So milky notes combined with peach or nectarine or apricot or mango, that family of fruits, sometimes it's, as I said, it's either a hit or miss for some people. Many people love it, but many people like me can't stand it because it turns like sour, and it honestly on my skin smells like rotten mango and rotten milk. Like literally, it's there's no middle terms here. It's like a beautiful scent for most people, like Cruz del Sur 2, for example. It's a wonderful scent by Xerjoff. I love the house, but on my skin it smells horrible. But literally, I can't stand it. I have many fragrances from Xerjoff, but this one in particular doesn't work for me. And I have tried other fragrances in my life that have this combination of milk and one of these fruits. Again, it's either apricot, nectarine, mango, or peach. Milk mixed with any of these fruits, it's not for everybody. So if you have never tried a fragrance that has this combination, I wouldn't suggest you to blind buy the fragrance, because as I said, it could be a hit or miss. So be careful with this combo. My next tip for you guys is make sure you don't mix your taste in food, for example, with your taste in fragrances. And I'm gonna give you a couple examples. I'm a coffee freak. I love coffee. Like, I can't live without coffee, right? However, the fact that I love coffee, I love to drink coffee, but I don't like fragrances that have coffee in the composition. I don't know why. The only fragrance that has coffee and I absolutely love, I'm crazy about it, is Intoxicated by Kilian. But other than that, I don't usually, I cannot generalize because I haven't tried all the fragrances in the market. But usually I don't like fragrances that have coffee in the composition. So the fact that you like to eat or drink something doesn't necessarily mean you will like it in fragrances, right? I don't like to eat cotton candy. However, I like some fragrances with cotton candy. Not all of them, but some of them, right? And conversely, I barely drink alcohol. However, I love fragrances that have that champagne, bubbly, fizzy, sparkling type of smell, right? So really, this is super duper important, because you have to make sure you are not overlapping your taste in food and drinks with your taste in fragrances, as I said at the beginning. Another example, I do like to have my sweets every now and then. However, I don't like extremely cloyingly sweet fragrances. And even if I do like to eat a chocolate bar, or even if I want to eat a cupcake every now and then, but it doesn't mean I want to smell like a walking cupcake. Make sure you understand this, and when you make your purchasing decisions, you don't mix one type of taste with the other. So guys, the next tip I have for you is try to figure out what you want. You have to be crystal clear of what you truly want. Do you want an elegant fragrance? Do you want something gourmand instead? Do you want something for work? Do you want something for all year round? Do you want something more on the sexy side, seductive, or no, you want something fresh, green, and invigorating? Those are totally different type of scents. And I make this point here because, for example, in sweet fragrances, this is the thing. I always say that if you've been following me for a while, you might have heard me saying that it really requires a super trained master perfumer to make an extremely sweet fragrance that smells elegant at the same time. There are some out there. For example, Italica from Xerjoff, Lira from Xerjoff, La Danza de Libellule by Nobile in 1942. Those are fragrances that are very sweet, very gourmand, but they are super elegant at the same time. However, more often than not, for the most part, very sweet fragrances are not elegant. So if you are looking for an elegant fragrance, I would strongly suggest that you stay away from notes such as cotton candy, caramel, praline, chocolate. Those type of fragrances are gonna be pretty sweet unless they are combined with oud. If you see oud in the composition, like Oud Bouquet by Maison Lancôme, for example, it's a praline and oud bomb. But although it's sweet, it's very syrupy, it's very sticky, it's not cloying, and it's a very, very elegant fragrance. It kind of comprises many categories. It's gourmand, it's sexy, it's elegant, it's a really, really well done fragrance. But this is an exception, I think. For the most part, I have tried many fragrances in my life, and this is what I can share with you from my own experience. Very sweet fragrances usually are not elegant. So if you're looking for an elegant fragrance, stay away from the notes I just mentioned. On the other hand, if you're looking for something gourmand, you know it's not going to be an elegant fragrance, but still it could be an amazing fragrance that you can enjoy. Usually gourmand fragrances tend to be very sexy, very seductive. Men love super sweet fragrances. I don't know what's the thing with men and sweetness, but it's a fact. They love it. And it's a one type of scent. Now, if you need a fragrance for work, you will compromise the type of creaminess that can be heady and headache inducing. So the type of notes you will need there are completely different than the type of notes for a sexy fragrance or for an elegant fragrance. I hope I made it clear enough. Another note that I think it's vital to understand is iris, because iris can behave in different ways. If you see iris in a fragrance that is combined with spices like cardamom, for example, so chances are that iris will smell more leathery, like, for example, Le Vie Rouge by Louboutin. Now, if the iris is combined, for example, with roses, chances are that fragrance is going to be more powdery. So make sure you like either leather or powdery notes in fragrances, because that's what iris smells like for the most part, right? At least when iris is prominent. And also take into account orris root, because orris root is the root from the iris. And here's another take. Orris root oftentimes I would say it's powdery, but it's very creamy, it's very buttery at the same time, very buttery. And it's a totally different thing. So we have a powdery note, we have a leather note from the exactly same flower, and if you see the root in perfumery, you have a buttery, slightly powdery scent. Iris does not behave like violet, for example. It's a totally different. Violet is fresher. It's a totally different thing. So anyways, I don't want to make this extra long, so I'm gonna leave you right here. I hope you could get any value out of this. Again, I am not encouraging you to go blind buy, but if you're gonna do it, no matter what, I believe in educated decisions, no matter what you do in life. So I think it is very important that at least you try to understand these few things I have shared here with you today. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye-bye.